Hey, welcome back to the F1 Sparks. 25 years ago this week, Ferrari ended a 21-year championship drought with Schumacher at Suzuka. Today, they're hemorrhaging money, drivers are at breaking point, and investors just wiped 15% off their stock in one day. But here's what nobody's talking about. There's one thing Ferrari could do right now that would change everything, and I'm breaking it down by the end of this video. Stick around because this goes deeper than just bad results. Today, Ferrari finds itself in a position that would be unthinkable to anyone celebrating in Suzuka a quarter century ago. They're the only team in the top four of the Constructors' Championship without a single victory this season. Think about that for a moment. Mercedes, Red Bull, McLaren have all found the winner's circle, but not Ferrari. Charles Leclerc made this brutally clear after Singapore, stating he doesn't expect anything special for the rest of the year. I think the picture we've seen this weekend is going to be what the rest of the season looks like for us, he told media, essentially waving the white flag with 6 races still to go. The numbers tell a grim story. Since the summer break, Ferrari have outscored Williams by just 6 points. Williams! They've gone 5 consecutive Grands Prix without a podium, and the gap to Mercedes in the Constructors has ballooned to 27 points. At Singapore, both drivers were forced into lift and coast mode for the majority of the 62-lap race, a phrase that's become depressingly familiar at Maranello this season. Leclerc limped home 6th, while Lewis Hamilton's brake issues saw him drop to 8th, made worse by a 5-second penalty for track limits violations. Speaking of Hamilton, his Ferrari dream has turned into something of a nightmare. The 7-time world champion is staring down his first season without a podium finish. Aside from that sprint win in China, there's been precious little to celebrate. He's outqualified Leclerc just once since the British Grand Prix in July. Hamilton admitted the car's limitations bluntly. "We're currently really limited with rear end compared to the guys that are clearly taking the step and improved their rear, Mercedes and McLaren and Red Bull," he went on, saying they're on a knife edge trying to get as close as we can. This from a man who's won 105 Grands Prix. The irony? Ferrari's setup compromises, running the car higher to avoid repeating their China disqualifications, have inadvertently benefited Hamilton's driving style. The stiffer setup with more understeer suits him coming from Mercedes, but it's left Leclerc struggling at street circuits where he usually excels. But it's not just the on-track struggles that are causing headaches. Ferrari's share price took an absolute battering recently, a record-breaking 15% drop on the New York Stock Exchange, their worst day since listing in October 2015. The Italian stock exchange saw a peak decline of 16%, another single-day loss record. This came after Ferrari's Capital Markets Day event, where they announced anticipated revenue of €7.1 billion for the year, rising to around €9 billion by 2030, with adjusted earnings expected to hit at least €3.6 billion by then. Apparently, investors weren't impressed. Ferrari chairman John Elkann tried to steady the ship, calling his commitment to Ferrari a personal matter and promising to ensure every decision we make strengthens Ferrari's uniqueness. CEO Benedetto Vigna was more direct. "In Formula One, we must improve. We must win because we owe it to our loyal fans around the world." Behind the scenes, tensions are boiling over. According to Italian outlet Corriere dello Sport, there was a heated exchange between team principal Fred Vasseur and Matteo Tognanelli, Ferrari's head of track engineering. The atmosphere within the team has reportedly soured, which isn't surprising given the circumstances. Vasseur's contract extension hasn't translated into improved results, and Italian media suggest Ferrari engineers are irked by Leclerc's blunt criticism of the SF25. When your lead driver is publicly saying there's nothing in the car that proves they'll take a step forward, that's going to sting, especially for engineers pouring their hearts into every race weekend. Leclerc's assessment is particularly damning. "We don't have new parts or anything coming to the car," he explained. "Red Bull did 2 steps in the season, first half and then in Monza more recently, where they did a really big step forward, and now Mercedes seems to have done this step forward, and we are the only one that didn't find that solution." The highly anticipated suspension upgrade introduced at the Belgian Grand Prix was supposed to be the game changer. It wasn't. While Leclerc took a shock pole in Hungary, the same limitations resurfaced immediately: plank wear concerns, brake temperature management, the whole sorry saga. Hamilton, despite his struggles, is trying to stay positive, or at least diplomatic. After losing his beloved dog Roscoe just before Singapore, he returned to social media with a rallying cry. "The media headlines only tell one story, one where we don't get things quite right, or things don't go our way. But what I have been focused on over the past few months is the other story. the one about how this team responds when things go wrong. He added that he's proud of this team, but acknowledged progress alone is not enough. To achieve greatness, we need to go further, be better. His contract runs until at least the end of 2026, so he's not going anywhere, despite whispers about whether Mercedes or Aston Martin might come calling for Leclerc. Flavio Briatore, Alpine's de facto team principal, has thrown his weight behind Hamilton's Ferrari future, predicting everything will change with the 2026 regulations. Next year, everything will change and we'll be fighting for the podium too, Briatore told Radio Rai. With the new cars, Hamilton will be back in the fight for victory. He's always great. It's an optimistic take, though worth noting that Briatore admitted in January he wouldn't have contracted Hamilton if he'd been in charge at Ferrari, questioning why they broke up the Leclerc-Sainz partnership. So what does Ferrari actually need to do to win championships again? First, they need to solve their fundamental car concept issues. Every rival has found solutions to the ground effect regulations. Red Bull made massive steps both early season and at Monza. Mercedes dominated Singapore. McLaren's been the benchmark all year. Ferrari's the odd one out. Second, the internal tensions need addressing. You can't have your team principal and head of track engineering at each other's throats while expecting championship glory. Third, they need parts and upgrades that actually work. The suspension upgrade flopped, and now there's nothing else coming. Fourth, they need to figure out how to run the car optimally without compromising it to death. And finally, perhaps most importantly, they need patience. The 2026 regulations might be their best shot at a reset, but that requires getting through this season without the entire operation imploding. Ferrari last won a Constructors' Championship in 2008. Their last Drivers' Champion was Kimi Räikkönen in 2007. It's been 18 years since they stood atop the mountain, and on the 25th anniversary of Schumacher's breakthrough, that weight feels heavier than ever. What do you reckon Ferrari needs most right now? Is it the car, the leadership, the driver lineup, or just patience for 2026? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I want to hear what you think is the real problem at Maranello. And if you found this breakdown useful, smash that subscribe button because we're diving deep into F1's biggest stories all season long. Cheers!